One of the most well-known Greek mythology is that of Hades and Persephone. Hades was Zeus' brother and the god of the underworld. Persephone was the goddess of nature, Demeter's daughter. Another narrative of love and abduction in Greek mythology is the myth of Hades and Persephone. We'll show you how Hades abducted Persephone. If you've ever wondered if Persephone fell in love with Hades, this video is for you. Before we dig deep into the love story of Hades and Persephone, please give this video a like. And if you love stories of Greek mythology, share it with your friends. Persephone, the underworld's queen, was the daughter of Zeus and Demeter, the goddess of harvest and fertility, according to Greek mythology. She was also known as Cora, which means maiden, and grew up to be a beautiful girl who drew the attention of many gods. Demeter, on the other hand, was fascinated with her only daughter and kept all men away from her. Hades, the god of the underworld, was Persephone's most persistent suitor. He was a tough, middle-aged man who lived in the shadows of the dead. But his heart softened when he beheld Persephone and was awestruck by her youth, beauty, and radiance. When he requested Demeter to marry her daughter, she became enraged and claimed there was no way it could happen. Hades was heartbroken and resolved to capture Persephone at any cost. Each local cult has a separate place for Persephone abduction. The plain of Mysa is mentioned in Homer's hymn to Demeter. The locations of this most likely mythological country might merely be conventions used to demonstrate that a magically distant chthonic kingdom of myth was meant in the distant past. In Eleusis, Demeter discovered and greeted her daughter, and this is the legendary disguise of what transpired in the mysteries. Persephone, the Greek goddess of spring and fertility, married Hades, king of the underworld, in one of Greek mythology's most renowned stories. But did Persephone have feelings for Hades? Theirs is not your typical love story. Their romance evolved through time, with different twists and turns, yet the myth never reveals whether Persephone actually falls in love with Hades. Persephone and Hades met in unexpected circumstances. Hades was lonely in his huge subterranean home and wished for a companion to keep him company. Hades was visiting the above world when he came upon the young and lovely Persephone plucking flowers in a meadow, and was immediately captivated by her. Then Hades took Persephone from the earth and brought her into the underworld with him. According to Greek and Roman texts, Hades kidnapped Persephone and made her his wife against her choice. As a result, we might presume she did not love Hades at this point, and likely despised him for stealing her innocence and pulling her away from her family. Demeter, the goddess of agriculture and harvest, was saddened when she discovered her daughter was stolen. She sought all hours of the day and night for her darling daughter, ignoring the world's flora and allowing them to wither and die. Hermes joined the hunt and soon found Persephone in the underworld with Hades, demanding her release. This intense reaction implies that Persephone did not want to be there and did not love her captor. When the temple was finished, Demeter retreated from the earth and resided within it, while also causing a great drought to persuade the other gods to release Persephone from Hades. As the drought claimed more victims, Zeus dispatched Hermes to convince Hades to release his ill-gotten bride. However, before handing her up, Hades put a pomegranate seed into the girl's mouth, knowing that the heavenly flavor would persuade her to return to him. In some versions of the narrative, Persephone might have been released if she hadn't eaten anything in the underworld throughout her incarceration, but Hades offered her a pomegranate seed at the last time. Finally, it was determined that Persephone would be liberated, but would have to return to Hades for 1/3 of the year as a compromise. When confronted with the god's wrath, Hades tricked Persephone into staying so she could never go. He gave her a pomegranate, and she ate several of its seeds, unaware that anyone who ate from the depths of hell would be forced to stay there indefinitely. Perhaps Hades expected her to finally fall in love with him. Perhaps Persephone was aware of what she was doing all along and secretly wished to remain by his side. Persephone decided to spend 6 months of the year on Earth with Demeter and the other 6 months in the underworld with Hades. Persephone took her duty as queen of the underworld alongside Hades seriously, performing her duties until she died. But did she come to like Hades over time? It's difficult to see her falling in love with her kidnapper. In many legends, however, Hades treated Persephone like the queen she was, spoiling her day and night, and enabling her to thrive. Some people interpret the story of Hades and Persephone. The Abduction of Persephone is an etiological story that explains why the seasons change. Persephone was sentenced to spend 4 months, or 6 months in some stories, with Hades because she had devoured pomegranate seeds in the underworld. When Persephone turned to the underworld, Demeter's grief at losing her daughter caused the world's greenery and flora to wither, symbolizing the autumn and winter seasons. When Persephone's time came to an end and she was reunited with her mother, Demeter's delight caused the earth's flora to bloom and blossom, symbolizing the spring and summer seasons. This also explains why Persephone is connected with spring. Her reappearance from the underworld heralds the arrival of spring. As a result, Persephone and Demeter's annual reunion not only represents the changing seasons and the start of a new cycle of development for the crops, but it also represents death and the regeneration of life. The Eleusinian mysteries and the Thesmophorious cults of Persephone and Demeter were founded on previous agrarian cults. These cults' teachings were tightly held mysteries, kept concealed because they were thought to give adherents a better afterlife than dreary Hades. Persephone. There is evidence that some practices were derived from Mycenaean religious traditions. The cult of Persephone in Greek religion was especially popular in Sicily and southern Italy, and there were shrines to the goddess across the Greek world, most notably at Locria Pisophyri, Mantinea, Megalopolis, and Sparta, in addition to the Eleusinian mysteries at Eleusis. Annual celebrations commemorated Persephone's marriage and flower picking. Thesmophoria was a Greek-wide festival honoring the goddess and her mother. It was a women-only event done yearly before the sowing season, during which sacrifices were made and putrefied pigs' remains were mingled with the seeds. Persephone, as queen of the underworld, was frequently invoked in cursed tablets and on the engraved gold leaves buried with the deceased orphisms, which provided instructions on how to behave oneself in the afterlife. What really is the significance of the love story, or should I say the abduction of Hades to Persephone? The narrative of Demeter, Hades, and Persephone may have been symbolic of the changing seasons and the eternal cycle of life to death, then back to life, or in other words, the transition from summer to winter months and the return of life in spring as observed in agriculture. The cycle became one of the hallowed Eleusinian mysteries rites. Indeed, the cult's emblems were ears of grain and a torch, alluding to Demeter's quest for Persephone and the fact that the ceremonies were performed at night. Because all initiates were bound by a holy promise not to expose the contents of the mysteries, they have remained a mystery until this day. Thank you so much for watching. If you love this video, don't forget to leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. We'll see you on the next video.